Welcome to Nuditea, where we get naked with our feelings while drinking tea. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Wendy. And on this podcast, we talk about food, adult stuff, sex. Today we have Brandon with us.
Yeah. Once again.
Yes.
It's the same day. Kim and I just changed because we got sweaty.
Because you got sweaty.
We did. It's true. Okay, so topic of today is a continuation of this little mini series that we've been trying to do on sex talks with parents and where we got our sex ed from. And the reason we brought Brandon on is because we just really wanted to get a different perspective to see maybe if a guy gets kind of a different sex talk from his parents compared to what girls get. Maybe you got it from a different parent. Maybe you just
got it earlier.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll find out. Stay tuned right now.
No commercial breaks in this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Brandon, did you get a sex talk from your parents? Or from a parent?
I honestly have like maybe one small obscure memory of maybe getting one. So
is this obscure because it happened when you were really young, or did you
no, just because it was so short. It was literally like my mom was like, "So, Brandon, you know to be safe, right?" And I was like, "Mom," and then that was it.
Mom!
But what age was this then? If you were all like, I already know where this is going. Because like, if you're young enough, you're like,
it wasn't
in the playground? Like...
Yeah, what do you mean? No, it was like I was mature. It was like after, like the purpose was because I had a girlfriend, right? So
always talk about it after they get a girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, I knew where it was trying to go.
Right.
Sorry, what
but I
age
just shut
was
it down.
this?
Well, this was like
High school it would have had to been, right?
yeah, it was around high school, I think. Like a real girlfriend, I mean,
Not just one where you hold hands.
Not
and
just
like
yeah.
grade 3 and you're like, I'm
When
dating
like
this one.
sex was a possibility.
Yeah.
And your mom's like, oh, sex is on the table now, time for a talk.
Yeah.
And then you shut her down.
I shut her down. Yeah, I knew where it was going.
Why do you feel like you shut her down?
Well, because, like, it's just...
It's awkward.
There's lots of reasons. No, I mean, I learned a lot, I think, in, like, sex ed and stuff,
Was this before or after your mom tried to give you the sex talk?
Before. Like, I learned a lot before.
Do you remember what grade that was in?
My mom's thing? Or the
No,
sex ed?
when you actually got your sex education.
Well, I got sex ed in grade 7 and 8, and then maybe earlier, but those are the two I remember, like, having, like, full units on, like, because it was, like, kind of scarring, because they would show, like, so many weird things. I don't know. It was uncomfortable.
Penises, vaginas everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Was grade 7, like, puberty talk, or was it straight up just this is what sex is, and they got more into detail in grade 8?
Oh, 7. I swear, both were, like, everything. Like, I just have, like, vivid memories of, like, my old-ass teachers talking to, like, us, how old are you in grade 8, 7?
13, 12?
Yeah. And, like, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're thinking about sex at that time. I wasn't really. Like, I don't think I was.
I almost got to start that early, because some people are.
Yeah.
I
for sure.
had,
People
like,
were.
2 friends in grade 8 who were definitely having sex.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I just wasn't, I was too, like, what is that?
Penis? What's a penis?
I knew what a penis was.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Did you find the sex education, while horrifying, was informative, or do you think, like, looking back on it now, what you know, do you think it was a good, like, start or stepping stone, or do you think they explained it well enough to a 12-year-old?
Well, I think it was good. Yeah, in my opinion. Like, I know people complain about it sometimes, but
How explicit was it? Like, did they go through, they showed you a lot of parts, you were horrified. Did they tell you, like, how sex works? Like, what you do during sex and how to be safe? Did they show you how to put on a condom, that kind of thing?
yeah, well,
All of it, dang.
they did it all. Yeah, they talked about.
Okay, so I just really missed
You
out
really
on
missed it,
all
yeah.
of that.
They did. They like handed around like sex toys even. And I was
Oh.
like, what? I was like, what is going on right now?
Do they hand out sex toys in order to just be like,
I don't
actually
know.
talk about sex toys, or be like, this is the general anatomy that you'll have when your penis is erect? Like, because was it separated into genders, or did they just be like girls and boys in the same class?
It was girls and boys. We were in like the gym. It was like a unit of gym class.
Oh.
It was like health unit of gym
That's
class.
where it usually happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was girls and boys in the class.
Was it awkward that it was co-ed, sex ed?
To be honest, I can't really remember if it was like awkward for me. I don't think so.
Bad scarring.
Yeah, like no, I just
blocked it out.
no, I just like I have a few memories of it, and they just like showed everything on the projector in the gym, and it was like, yeah, I feel like it was pretty like in depth. We didn't do like the condom thing, but we did do it in grade 9.
So you got it eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it because that you felt like your sex ed in school was pretty comprehensive that you cut your mom off, or were you just awkward and didn't want to talk to your mom about it?
Yeah, well, both. Like, 'cause I don't like we don't have those talks, me and my mom. Like, not usually, right?
I feel like that's true for all of us. So we don't generally openly just bring up casually a conversation about sex and health and sexual safety with our parents on the daily. So I feel like that's pretty normal. It's funny that you totally cut her off, though.
I was like,
Mom!
Yeah, seriously. And then that was it. And I was like, I know.
I'm interested to know how she would have continued the conversation. Like, it's funny that she started with, like, you're being safe, right?
It's just, like, if you knew my mom, it would just be a really awkward conversation. Like, hilarious to me now. But, like, back at that time, like, the worst thing possible, probably. You know? Which is why.
Would you then, if you had wanted to ask questions about sex, would you have, like, asked your older brother? Or is it just, like, literally just, you don't really talk to your family about it?
I did ask my brother, like, when I started, like, doing sexual activities. I got, like, really worried one time because of something, and, like, I was like, Steve, help me. And, you know, I was just being stupid, but, like, paranoid, but,
Which, I mean, if you didn't have the information, you were obviously going to be paranoid, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing to get sex ed in school and from your parents. Like, they cover the general aspects of sex, but I feel like once you get down to doing it, there's like many more questions that pop up as you go along, right?
Yeah.
So,
Did you find your brother was reassuring, or did he
laugh?
Oh,
at
yeah.
you?
Oh, no, he's always, yeah.
That's
No, he helped me, for sure. He always helped me with, like, everything, pretty much. But yeah, that was a pretty funny one. Just like, that was probably the only time I ever asked someone, like, in my family, like, something.
But that was, you were like low-key freaking out at that point, and that's why you reached out?
Yeah.
Did you have any points where you felt like you had questions, but then you ended up just not asking anyone about it?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I Googled a lot of stuff, and I, like, started watching porn and stuff, so it was like, you learn through different channels that you just, like, learn different things from different resources, right? So I barely got sex ed in school, so which is why I had to head...
Yeah. Between her and me,
no, really?
I got, like, nothing. Yeah.
I feel like I got the whole, like, encyclopedia.
That's good. I'm shocked that they showed sex toys. Did your mom know about the sex ed that you were getting? Were any parents, like, outraged that this was happening?
At the time, I don't think it was maybe there was, like, a thing where it's like, sign this form if you want your kid to do this. Maybe nowadays probably there is, but yeah, she probably knew. Yeah,
that's good.
Because
she just wanted to, like, double check, like, you're being safe.
Well, yeah, I guess, or maybe she, like, overheard some things and was like, Brandon.
Overheard something.
Yeah, well, our rooms are like 1 inch apart.
No, Brandon.
So she was like,
you're a poor mother.
Yeah.
You felt awkward.
Yeah.
Imagine how she felt.
Yeah,
oh, God.
I'm wondering if you were ever, if you stopped yourself from asking questions, is there any basis in the fact that, like, as a guy, do you feel like you need to project this persona of, like, knowing? all the things about sex?
Well, yeah, I feel like that's part of it. Like, it's also part of my personality. I don't usually ask questions. I don't know if that's like a personality trait, but like, I don't usually ask questions just because like I feel like I can just find out the answer. Because, you know, other than like being worried about things, you know, like the one time, I don't know what else you would ask about, you know? Like, there's not much that you...
Right, okay.
I don't know, what would you ask? Like...
Well, it's probably, and this is where I'm just like wondering like the differences, right? It's like...
I don't know, I feel
women's sexuality in general is...
complicated.
It's probably more complicated for... Yeah.
And people don't really know where to start, I think, or if you don't know what questions to ask. I mean, with guys, was it just like... You're like, oh yeah, this is happening to me. And like, you obviously knew what they were talking about. But with like, I don't know, with me, I feel like I was probably a late bloomer in just like experiencing, I don't know if that's just because I got like a late hormone rush. And I still like, puberty hit me around probably 14, 13. But I don't think, maybe it's because I grew up in like the Christianity household. It was very at the back of my mind and I wasn't like...
Suppressed it a little bit,
and I'm just like,
and then suddenly the hormones like finally took over, and we're like, what have you been doing this whole time?
Yeah, exactly.
Get with it.
I'm just wondering, like, because I think a lot of people don't know what to do with female, like, just sex in general.
I feel like it's like the general how-to of sex is pretty easy to understand, but it's like the nuances of like things like foreplay, things like having a connection versus like a quick and dirty type deal, things like how to please your partner, how to make it like more comfortable for the both of you. Those are things that you kind of just have to get through experience.
Exactly.
And
you
then,
can't really ask.
Yeah, like who do you because it's different for everyone. So that's a good point. Like we say like, oh, did you have any questions that you would have wanted to ask? But it's like, those are the type of questions that you kind of just need to figure out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Best sex ed is just being safe and doing it.
Exactly, right? There's like 3 things to remember. It's like, use a condom, take the pill, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
so, contraceptives, just, because condoms, I remember when, like, I first learned about condoms, they made it seem like such a, like, ooh, yes, like, prevents STIs and pregnancy, but now we know that it's actually not as effective as we want it to be. So I know my doctors always recommend, like, oh, like, if you're not planning on getting pregnant, maybe a combination of condom plus the pill, because even the pill, if you, like, skip pills or something, it can reduce the efficacy. So, those are... What were your top 3? So be safe in terms of not getting pregos. Number 2.
Yeah. For like as a guy, like what are the 3? Like what are the things you need to like?
Oh, I was just saying them there. Like use a condom, and take the pill. For the girl. Yeah. And the third one, I don't know. There's only 2.
So 2, don't get anyone pregnant.
Don't get pregnant. Yeah.
Don't get an STI. Don't get pregnant.
Don't get an STI.
The goals. Yeah. Have you ever asked any of your partners to get tested for STIs before engaging in sex?
No.
No?
But that's because they haven't, like, it's always been like the first time kind of thing. So.
Oh, look at you go.
Well, yeah.
I mean, same though.
Okay.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
I have a question. So, do you think if you have kids, how would you go about broaching the sex talk? And what do you think you would include in it?
Oh God, I honestly, like, because my parents were very, my mom was very, like, what do you call that? Like, not, lenient, I guess, but in the most, like, extreme way. Like, literally did not tell me to do anything, like, didn't punish me for doing bad things, didn't, like, didn't, like, I don't know, it was good and bad, right? Like, good because I could do whatever, but bad because I had to learn, like, on my own, right? With, learn just by making mistakes instead of my mom telling me, oh, it's not good to, like, not go to school all the time, you know? It's like, oh, yeah, I learned that myself because I did that all the time, right? In high school.
So would you take kind of a similar lenient approach, but make it like a little more like, maybe these are some things that you shouldn't do?
Well, I think that, like, I really do think that the way you were brought up is, like, the way you act as a parent. Mm-hmm. You can change it, I'm sure, if you tried consciously, but I think, like, your tendency will just be to be the way that your parents were for you. Mm-hmm. And I just recently, like, kind of figured that out when I was, like, obviously I don't have kids, but when I was taking care of kids, like, at school, right, and teaching them, I'm just, like,
do it
super lenient, like, and I cannot punish. I hate punishing. I can't, like, stand it because, like, I was never punished. And I feel like it's the worst thing to do, even though it's, like, the best thing you could do.
In some cases, yes.
In some cases, it's, like, very necessary. Mm-hmm. But I find it extremely difficult to, like, discipline. Mm-hmm. Maybe my personality, you know, not just my upbringing. But
in terms of the sex talk, though, so do you think you would kind of take your mom's approach where, like, you just want to drop in and be like, are you safe?
And then leave it at that.
You safe?
I think
and then
it would depend, like, I think it would depend if I had a girl or a boy. Like,
so what are the differences?
Okay, yeah.
I probably wouldn't want to talk, like, to a girl. It would be too weird. I would
put
like
that on
tell,
the mom and...
I mean, I'd talk to her, but I don't know. I can only ever picture myself, like, talking to a son, like, about that.
Do you think you'd ever approach it that you and your partner would talk to, like, if you had a girl or a guy together?
Oh, to talk at the same time.
Yeah, because I think there's a perception that the mom talks to the daughters and then the males talk to the sons. And I'm just wondering, do you see it as, like, maybe we should be looking towards more joint conversations?
That sounds great. It sounds good, but, like, in reality, like, I honestly don't think I can't even, like, think about having a sex talk even with, like, a boy or a girl. Like, if I would, it would be a boy, but, like, I just can't imagine it because I just want to be like, learn on your own.
Okay. Well, do you think you give them the resources then? And you're like,
here's some
websites. Maybe websites you should look at, or pamphlets. People still have pamphlets when I don't know. Brochures.
Who's pamphlets anymore, Kim?
I don't know.
Are you 68 years old?
I mean... Yeah, if I found out, like, that the school or whatever wasn't doing a good sex ed, I'd probably do that.
How would you keep track of that, though?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Would you constantly have to ask them, what'd you learn in school today? Or, like, because...
well, I mean... Yeah, I mean, if they had, like, handouts from the class, show me your health handouts. And then...
Or I guess you could talk to the teachers.
Kids, if they were embarrassed, let's say your son was embarrassed, do you think he'd keep that from you?
I don't know.
That's a lot of scenario, sorry.
That could always be something you bring up with the teachers as well, to ask if sex ed is in the curriculum, what is the set curriculum for sex ed. You could try to make sure that they were getting a good background.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I don't really have any plan for that, but just knowing myself, I just can't picture myself being comfortable talking to. But I don't know, I've never had kids, so maybe that would change.
Maybe when the time comes.
Would you ever think about, like, sending them to your brother or your sister?
Just like, hey guys, just, you know.
I feel awkward. Here they are. Please take
That would be awesome,
Sometimes
actually. That's a good idea.
Kids have a hard time maybe broaching the topic with their parents or
for, like,
parents.
Kim and I, we had this talk where if my kids don't feel super comfortable talking to me, I feel very comfortable just sending them off to Kim and be like, go talk to Auntie Kim if you don't want to talk to me. If this is awkward for you, talking about sex with your mom, we don't have to necessarily engage in this conversation because I don't think it's useful if they're uncomfortable and they're scared to ask questions. But maybe with Kim, they'll be like, Kim, like, what is it? So that might be an option.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea.
I don't know if their, like, siblings would be down to just, like...
Well, I think they would. I think it'd be hilarious. Yeah, I'd be like, hey, Steve, just, like, take this responsibility for me. And, yeah.
Do with my children what you have helped me with.
Yeah.
Just continue this education.
Do you think there's, like a right age? What do you think the perfect age to, like, at least, like, start puberty? Like, where would you start talking about puberty?
Puberty.
Even with a kid?
So, Yeah, we even got sex ed about that, right?
Well,
Like,
I remember getting a
early.
lesson in grade 6.
Yeah, grade 6. Okay, so I did have.
Do you think that age? Do you think that was like the perfect age in hindsight?
Yeah, I think so. That was around the time when I was like, oh, like, yeah.
What's happening?
What's
This is
happening? Yeah.
And you feel alone because you're like, is this only happening to me? That kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember them always telling us that we would get wet dreams all the time, like nocturnal emissions. I never got one, and I was like,
Yeah, I
am I
feel like
weird?
they
Like,
really played that up.
something's
Like
wrong.
that was like on their priority list.
Yeah, they're like, nocturnal emissions, just so you know.
Happens constantly once you reach this age, and it's just like, does it though?
Yeah, it's like, no. Literally happened to me once in my whole life. It was, yeah. So.
Cool. I guess the final thing I'll ask you, because I know we're asking a lot of questions, but with parents, I'm going to say outrage. Outrage seems too aggressive, but with their problems with the sex education that is now, and they're trying to progress sex education, and even just like, I think awareness with like homosexuality is a thing, and transgendered individuals and all that stuff, and they're trying to teach kids more about that. Do you think that bringing the sex education back and not including that stuff, I guess, how do you feel about that?
Not including...
Like, even just, like, very basic sex education where parents don't even want that even dealt with, I find. Some parents don't. And so it'll be like, oh, that's for the parents' job. But as someone who grew up literally learning what they needed to in the education system, do you think bringing that back to an even like less informative lesson, I guess, and removing
basically
things
how
like,
conservative do you want the sex ed in schools to be?
Thank you.
Well, I think they can do like, well, yeah, in my opinion, they should tell kids everything. I mean, and I guess that's one thing that we were missing. Like, I don't remember any talks about like non-conforming sexual stuff, you know?
Heterosexual.
Yeah, so maybe that, I mean, that's even something they could add, you know, especially nowadays. Like, I don't remember anything about like homosexuality or something. So we didn't learn about that. But yeah, I would say like be as liberal as possible. I don't think it needs to be.
But I think that also plays into your personality, where like you
probably,
just want
yeah.
you want the
I want
education
someone
to
else
take
to do it,
place
yeah.
elsewhere.
I would love for the, you know what? I would love for my kids to learn.
How would you react if your son or daughter actually came to you and actively asked you these questions? Would you kind of feel like obligated to answer on the spot, or would you be like, you know what,
Aunt?
No, I would answer. I would
Uncle.
answer. It'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be.
It's just like broaching the topic.
You don't want to be the
kids.
one to initiate it, essentially. That's too
Yeah,
awkward.
which is pretty sad considering I'm the parent, and that's what I should be doing.
I don't think you're
hypothetically.
alone in it. That's why I think like I didn't get the talk that I probably should have. So
Same.
Because you didn't approach your parents? Or?
no, because they.
Well, at our ages, Kim and I, maybe it was just not in the forefront of our brains at that point that we, like, how does a child know that they should be getting sex ed at a certain age? Like, how does a child determine that, right?
Well, if you never got it, yeah, exactly. Like, if you never got it in school, how would you know? Like, and you guys didn't.
My mother, I think,
accidentally skipped
I'm the
over
fifth child. So, like, I think she just kind of felt my siblings would deal with my questions or tell me
But your
about
school,
it.
though, I mean? Like, your school didn't teach you?
Oh, my school taught me.
Oh.
That is where I got my education from.
Okay.
But, like, the idea that parents are the ones who are supposed to...
Right.
I just think it doesn't really work. I mean, I think maybe parents are getting better, but, I mean, you're even like, I don't even want to talk about it.
No.
So it's not like for everyone. And I'm just like, I think the education system needs to be talking about it.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. It's a very different perspective because Kim and I are very like gung-ho, like we want to talk to our kids and like we want them to have that open communication with us. But I guess it's understandable for a parent to be like, you know what? If they're getting their education elsewhere and if that's sufficient, then maybe they can ask me questions if they want to, or if they feel like they're comfortable doing that. But otherwise, if they're getting good education on how to have healthy sex, then maybe it's not necessary.
Yeah. No, I would love to be like 100% open with my kids if I have them. But you know, I just can't picture it. You know, now that I've dealt with kids.
How do you picture that?
And my relationship with my parents is like not quite like that. You know, not like 100% open. You know.
Kim and I are planning to have like a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh yeah. About
why not?
Like all the points about like parenting and stuff.
About
just
sex.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sex, that's our pipe dream anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think it's interesting because you're like, yeah, we kind of end up like our parents, and I want to do the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to learn from parents. It's also one thing to like learn from what your parents did that maybe didn't.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I always like so many things. I was like, I'll never do that to my kids, but like,
I might.
But then, there's things I understand now that I'm older, and like, I think I actually, I don't want to do the complete opposite. I think like, I was good with that's why I'm like, I'm okay with like thinking that I'll end up that way, because I was okay with it, you know. I was okay with like learning everything on my own, even though it meant that I wasn't like 100% open with my parents. You know, like, I was good with it. I liked learning that way.
And I think we all turn out fine.
Like
with our varying degrees of sex ed from our parents, from school. Like we all
learn eventually.
Yeah, it's based on experience as well. So it's a lot more to sex ed than just what you would get from your parents or school.
Oh yeah.
I think as long as you had someone to ask those questions to, it doesn't necessarily have to be your parent. I think
it can be the internet.
Yeah.
It could be a sibling.
Well, like I said, I was comfortable asking my brother about that stuff.
Exactly.
He was a good source of information for not just that stuff, but like everything else too, you know.
I know I said I wouldn't ask many more questions. We'll edit things. So, I'm wondering, did you ever think to talk to your sister about like the girl's perspective? About like, oh, I have questions about maybe how a girl feels or like what they're going through. Was that not something?
Nah, not between me. Like,
did your sister get a sex talk from your mom?
I'm not sure. She probably did. I can like definitely my sister, my mom are like, I can picture them talking about it. Not me and my mom, not me and my dad either. But no, I never thought of asking her. I think that'd be like, especially our age difference. You know, she's 6 years older than me, so I don't know really.
Would it have been weird for you to ask these types of questions?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Even without the age difference, it would just be weird asking your sister.
That's true. It's always gross. Baseline is it's kind of always awkward to ask family members about sex.
Yeah, even my brother, right? Like, even there's two guys, right? But like, still, kind of. Awkward.
I get that. Depends on, I guess, how close you are. I mean, I talk about my things to my sisters quite a bit. Actually, sex is not a huge one, but like everything else is in detail. And I know my brother-in-law thinks we're a little weird for how close we are and what we talk about. That's just not what his family was like, so he gets that. But
I just realized we didn't say what tea we were drinking.
Oh, that's important.
Kim and I are drinking a Jeju Island green tea. Brandon, you already polished off your peppermint tea.
Yeah.
I guess that's how we'll end our
I'm cutting you off.
Conversation. Sorry, I know so many questions. Okay. Cool. Thanks for listening to this episode.
Bye.
Good time. See ya.